So I'm starting at BCG in 3 days. It's exciting, also a little nerve-wracking, but it made me realise that on my channel I've mostly talked about general case interview advice, and don't get me wrong, that's really important. But if there is a specific consulting firm that you really want to get into, then you need advice specifically for that firm. Now, I learnt this by networking and experiencing it myself when applying to BCG, but to make it easier for you, I've compiled my top 5 pieces of advice that you really should know if you want to succeed at a BCG case interview. So my first tip might surprise some of you, and it's to not be too professional. This is one of the biggest mistakes I see people make, is that they think to themselves, BCG is a massive consulting firm and I really want to get a job there, and they end up being far too professional and start being slightly boring, and they're just not themselves. Consulting is a team job, so they don't just want someone that is good at solving business cases, intelligent, smart. They want someone that they would enjoy working with, so you really need to show them that. So when you're doing your case, try and involve them as much as you can in the discussions, but also try and gauge the feeling of the interview and your interviewer. So if you go in that room and they're really smiley and enthusiastic, then try and match that level, because it will help you create a better relationship with your interviewer. So my second tip is to make it specific to BCG. Given that BCG is so well known, they operate in over 90 cities, 50 countries, and likely receive tens of thousands of applications every year, they really want and need people who truly understand who they're applying to. But how do you actually do this in your case interview? Well, you can primarily show this in the fit section of your case interview, so questions like, why BCG? And what you need to do is to talk about things that truly interest you, but also only apply to BCG. For example, you could talk about their subsidiary companies, so companies like BCG Gamma, which deal in data science things, and BCG Digital Ventures, which deals in entrepreneurial things. Now, a little test I like to do is to, when you've created your answer, just look at it, and if you can swap out BCG for a different consulting firm, say McKinsey or Bain, and if it still roughly makes sense, then it's really not specific enough and you need to change some things. So my third tip is to show your creativity. BCG are generally thought of as being an incredibly collaborative and creative firm, and this is what I've experienced as well. Everyone I've met there so far has just had some really interesting ideas. But how does this change your approach in your BCG case interview? Well, you really need to nail those qualitative questions that aim to test your business creativity. So questions like, how could you convince someone to start a subscription to a service like Netflix? Or in what ways could companies become more carbon neutral? The questions can vary dramatically, but the way you do them well doesn't. So let's have a chat about that. Firstly, don't worry too much about the practicality of your ideas. They really want to see you be as creative as possible and think outside of the box, and they don't expect you to be an expert in any topic. So try and come up with some really unique ideas that other people are unlikely to say, because it will help you stand out and help them remember you, which is always a good thing. And secondly, if you're asking yourself right now, how can I be more creative and come up with these really interesting business solutions? Then the answer is quite simple, it's practice. But the way I always recommend people to do practice for these creativity questions is to incorporate it into your daily life. So let's say you're walking down the street and you see a taxi, you can think to yourself, how can independent taxi companies deal with the emergence of big disruptors like Uber? Doing this sort of creativity practice little and often consistently will make you far more creative in your case interview. So my fourth tip is to understand your unique selling point. Getting into BCG is very competitive, and some suggestions of percentages range from 1 to 5%, so that's very low. So you really need to make sure you understand your USP. Why should they pick you over other candidates? They will likely also have good academics and a good mix of extracurriculars, so you need to think, what makes you special, what makes you tick? Because in my opinion, that's what allows consulting companies like BCG to thrive, having a great mix of very unique people. So for me, my USP was sport because I played badminton to a relatively high level, so I made sure that for questions like tell me about yourself or why should we hire you, I spoke about my experiences and achievements playing badminton, and you need to make sure you do this in a way that makes you seem really impressive, but also not arrogant or cocky. So my final tip is to be friendly and enthusiastic, and I've left this to the end because I think it's so important and something that people don't really think enough about. From my experiences at BCG, everyone I've met there has been super fun, friendly, and just generally quite nice. So this is clearly something they're looking for in candidates. You don't need to just be able to solve the client's issue, but you need to create a good relationship with them. So make sure you go into your interview and really show them that you find the work of a consultant genuinely really interesting, something you would enjoy doing 5 days a week. But also, asking good insightful questions in the Q&A at the end of your case interview can really help to show your enthusiasm. But also, ask questions about your interviewer, as this can help you create a good relationship with them specifically. For example, you can ask them about their area of expertise if it's already been established they have one. So I hope this video helped. If you want a complete course on consulting case interviews, then definitely check it out below. But for now, I hope to see you in the next video.